Today, I want to talk about how the AMC settlement will apparently take weeks to be processed. I want to explain why that's important, but also talk about how AMC is currently a crime scene that will end with the shorts being liquidated. So stay tuned and let's make some money. And now I'll dive straight in with the key information. So, Fubucabra tweeted saying according to Webull, it's going to take weeks to pay people the odd shares they took that were unable to be converted and to fully complete the AMC settlement. And he asks, are you broke? Now this isn't some trust me bro information with no sources. This comes directly from the source on a live chat with Webull. So she said it's now been 5 to 6 days, and that's plenty of time to receive the full AMC settlement in shares and the cash dividend replacement. But Webull replied saying, hi Jessica, it shows you had 2 AMC shares and 1 ape share, which were both insufficient to be converted into a whole AMC share for the settlement. The fractional shares will be paid in lieu of cash, but this process may take a few weeks. And it seems it's not just Webull struggling to offer the cash dividend replacement, but even Fidelity is struggling to offer shares for the AMC settlement. Bigham's tweeted saying according to Fidelity, the settlement should be all done for everyone by this Friday, an entire week after it should have taken place. And he said the AMC price will rebound when the dust settles from these brokers. When these brokers have bought up enough shares to satisfy those fails to receive, AMC's price will be pushed upwards. As Peter Han explained, he said, here's the thing. If you haven't got settlement shares from your broker yet, they are likely having to buy those shares now in the open market. He said, I would expect everyone to have them by Friday when these brokers have bought real shares in the market. But there's always a risk they can't even deliver them by Friday, and it takes them 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks, if not potentially longer. He asked saying, why wouldn't these brokers already have AMC shares? He said, presumably the DTCC hands them all out at the same time, but only hands out a specific number of shares given to them by AMC. And obviously if the brokers need more shares than given to them by the DTCC for those imbalances I spoke about yesterday caused by synthetically shorting shares to retail investors, well, they either need more synthetics or they need to go into the open market and buy them themselves. And he said there's also an extended delay with international apes, which he said is really weird because obviously all share certificates these days are electronic. He said obviously it's because the DTCC didn't have enough shares to hand out because there's more shares out there than the official float recorded at the DTCC. This is obviously what I explained yesterday, as Broadridge had noted a massive discrepancy between what was reported to them by the brokers and what DTCC was supposedly holding on the broker's behalf. And Peter Han is asking, the important thing is how many more shares are out there than the official flow. And he said this is usual flow suppression techniques, but eventually the buying pressure has to show up. Guys, you can currently get a guaranteed free share of Tesla or of Google, a $50 cash reward, and up to 15 free shares on top of that. All you have to do is sign up to MooMoo using the link in the description below and make the required qualifying temporary deposit. You could always use those free shares and that money to buy more shares of AMC or of GameStop. Signing up to MooMoo is free and it's easy, it just requires that temporary deposit, and it's a really great way to help support my channel. On top of that, MooMoo is very easy to use. They've got tons of technical indicators and advanced charting tools and their own options trading platform. And Bigham's also pointed out the interesting but obvious, saying the shorts or the market makers need to go into the market at some point and deliver on their failures to receive to make the brokers whole. Otherwise, the brokers and trading platforms have IOUs that at some point need to be filled. Because if the customer sells their IOU, then the broker now has to pay the money for shares they never received from the market makers. The brokers and trading platforms don't want to foot this loss, and therefore the market makers need to go out there and buy real shares or create more fake shares to make the brokers whole in the first place. At the moment, it's the brokers that are losing money and not the market makers, and that's why back in January of 2021, it was Robinhood and Apex Clearing and other brokers and trading platforms that struggled to meet those margin calls. They had all of these customers buying and selling shares, but all they were really doing is buying and selling IOUs because they hadn't ever received the real shares from the market makers. And this is also exactly why Mullen Automotive has dragged in many of these brokers and trading platforms into that lawsuit. Really, the discrepancy here is with the brokers and trading platforms. Yes, the discrepancy is caused by the market makers who are creating those synthetic shares, but it's the brokers and trading platforms that are selling those synthetics to retail investors. Obviously, it's the market makers and the shorts doing the shorting, but they're shorting or selling the shares through brokers and trading platforms to retail investors. And at the moment, it's the brokers and trading platforms who are footing the bill and at risk of being margin called. Something that is also very, very interesting is that now E-Trade is also reporting a massively inflated short interest for AMC as well. The other day, I spoke about how Fidelity was showing a short interest on AMC of around 250%. I pointed out this was weird because pre-split, the total number of shares on loan was more like 40% of the float. If it was just a simple 10-for-1 reverse split issue, that short interest should be showing as 400%. On Fidelity the other day, it was showing as 250%, but now the same information is showing on E-Trade, but this time at 290% short interest. And day trader POS also pointed out, saying didn't GameStop also have a 250-ish% short interest back on the first sneeze? It seems AMC is getting ready for its squeeze or sneeze with multiple times the float already sold short over again. Now the data providers aren't even showing short interest at 30, 40 or 50%. Now it's being shown at 250 and 290%. We know the float for AMC is sold multiple times over, and now it seems the real figures are starting to creep through. Simulation Ape Nation has also tweeted something that I believe is absolutely true. He said, you know the shorts are in big trouble when they've pushed the price down from $77 per share to below $2 per share, but they're still begging for you to sell. And not even just begging for you to sell, but even trying to threaten you into selling. He said, let me break it down. The shorts sold stuff they didn't own, and now they've dug a hole as large as the Mariana Trench. The shills told us short interest was going to 0%. They told us the cost to borrow was also going to 0%, and they told us all of the FTDs would be satisfied from this reverse split. But what we have is a short interest that has increased up to 290%. We still have AMC on the threshold securities list now for 48 consecutive days, still racking in tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of fails to deliver. And most importantly, we still have the shorts and the shills begging for us to sell. That tells me the shorts are stuck like super glue. They hoped AMC would go bankrupt, but it's not, and now the shorts are in big, big trouble. And to point out just how much trouble these shorts are in, Stephanie has tweeted asking how can the brokers find so many shares to lend out every single day, but yet they can't seem to locate but a single share to remove AMC from the threshold securities list. It's because these shares being lent out are synthetics, but obviously real shares are needed to remove AMC's FTDs. She said she finds it funny they can find shares to lend, but they can't find shares to deliver for the threshold securities list. As I said, AMC had spent 47 days on this threshold list as of Tuesday the 29th, and now 48 days as of yesterday, Wednesday the 30th. It seems AMC is now going for a new record on this threshold securities list before the shorts eventually give up or get forced into bankruptcy. And finally, Simulation Ape Nation has also tweeted about the similarities from AMC's current chart to Volkswagen's 2008 chart pre-squeeze. This is something I also touched on the other day, and he's tweeted saying, alright, hear me out. Honestly, I'm just saying AMC's daily chart literally looks like the Volkswagen squeeze chart. We know from the Volkswagen chart, the entire run-up over months of time was erased just before the short squeeze. The shorts had manipulated the price of Volkswagen down and pretty much wiped out 100% of its gain. Until obviously just mere days later, the price of Volkswagen squeezed well into the thousands. This is exactly what's happened to AMC over the last couple of years. The shorts have finally managed to push the price down, wiping up pretty much 100% of the gain, but they still cannot cover and are still no closer to being free. And even though they've pushed the price down, it really doesn't matter, and it really doesn't alleviate any of the financial stress on these shorts, and they will soon end up being squeezed just like they were in Volkswagen. And if you also pay attention to this Volkswagen chart, the price was pushed down very quickly and very heavily in just a matter of a few days. And if you look at the current AMC daily chart over the last 6 or 7 days, basically over the last week, it looks mirrored pretty much one for one. Especially with this increasing volume, the shorts trading more shares back and forth every single day to keep the AMC price held down. We've now traded over a third or over half of the float every single day for pretty much an entire week consistently now. The shorts are throwing everything they have at AMC, trading a third of the float, half the float, and it won't surprise me if it's not long until they start trading the entire float, double or triple the float in one singular day just to keep the price down. But at some point they will lose control, and at that point AMC squeezes. So guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.